You have to remember that people don't live the way that you do.
Hello and welcome back to Coffee and Cupcakes with Christy B and my guest,
Enunciation, darling, enunciation.
Ashley Underwood. My goodness, I need help. And
What's in that coffee?
I'll put a little whiskey in my hot toddy sometimes. You got a problem with it? Keeps me sassy. Anyway, this is why you're here.
I
You
know.
love this.
I love
you
it.
love it. Come on. Thank you.
Yes.
You are joining us for part 2 of our topic on, how to be a great hostess and a great guest, because it's two sides of the same coin. And if you are just jumping into this episode, you need to backtrack a little bit and go watch the first part, which was all about being a hostess. And then we are leading into now how to be a good guest, because this is something that we just don't get taught, right?
No, not at all. But here's the thing. If you start to work on perfecting your hostessing skills,
You become a great guest.
you become a better guest because you recognize what someone might need.
I'm going to be a great hostess right now and offer you one of these. Would you please help yourself, darling?
Beautiful. Oh,
That
gorgeous.
looks lovely.
Yeah.
This has a cherry on top, so how can I say no to that?
No, not at all.
But you know what? You are absolutely right. That is the first step, because you just don't appreciate it as much if the shoe hasn't been on the other foot, right? So I agree that the more that you work on being a good hostess, the more you're going to pick up on the things that you should do and want to do when you're at someone else's house. And we talked a little bit, we kind of left off with our pet peeves, and our pet peeves really were about people kind of breaking the rules of etiquette as a guest. So it's perfect to lead into this. And once again, if you didn't watch that one, please go back and watch that. I'll put the link in the show notes.
I have a friend who tells everybody, we're going to start with drinks and appetizers at 6:30. You must be at our home by 7:15. And it allows for their friends to be a little late, to deal with traffic, whatnot. I'm really time sensitive. I get very nervous when people are late. So, yes, absolutely. Being very clear, I think, on both sides of the table as a hostess and a guest.
So let's switch gears a little bit, since we talked a lot about dinner parties in the last episode. But let's talk about being a guest in a different way, which is being a house guest. A totally different monster to deal with, because this is something that is kind of challenging to be in someone else's space, and it also can be challenging to have someone else in your space too. So, and by the way, this had alcohol in it.
Yes, you planted it that way.
I must have planted it. I didn't even know, along with my hot toddy. And so good.
We can pick these up for next time.
I'm going to have 5 of those before I start the show. But so I love that we're talking about the whole house guest thing, because you've been a frequent house guest at my place.
Yes.
And which is how the whole, sister-wife joke came about. Because sometimes it felt like you were here more than you weren't.
That might be the first rule of etiquette. Don't overstay your welcome. I think that when you show up at someone's home to stay as a guest, whether it's for a holiday or for an intentional trip to visit someone, you have to remember that people don't live the way that you do. And so it's really important to take cues from the person that you're visiting as to how they want you to interact with them as a guest. And there are some hostesses who really don't like to have their world interrupted.
That's true.
I've had house guests where they wanted to cook things with me or for me, and I get a little antsy because I want it
space.
They're in my space, and I want it to turn out a certain way. And
so that's a good point to remember, that as a guest, you may think that, oh, wow, I'm going to do something really wonderful for my host. I'm going to do this thing for them that they're really going to appreciate, that may not actually be an invited thing.
Yes.
So it's really important to ask in advance if that would be okay. I mean, it would be like me going to someone's house, and I've actually done this before. Okay, I'm going to tell you now what I've done. But it was appreciated.
Hey, we all make mistakes.
I reorganized their cupboards. Okay. So, but it was in their pool house, and they were really messy. And I was told later that it was very much appreciated. But that's probably something I should have asked about first. Instead of being like, surprise, you don't know where anything is. And, you have asked if you can cook us a meal while you've been here, which is wonderful and totally welcome. And I absolutely was happy to accept that, but maybe wouldn't from someone else,
Yeah, don't just show up with groceries and be like, hey, I'm cooking you dinner, because maybe the hostess has planned something. And it just...
Taking your cues. I mean, that's the main thing. You're taking your cues. You're also, I also know people that I've talked to before that are kind of like have an expectation that things are going to be a certain way when they go to stay with someone, and they get upset if certain things haven't been done in preparation for them. And I think that, yes, as a guest, it feels really wonderful to know that your host has done extra things and gone out of their way in preparation for you. It feels like you're very cared for, and it's really wonderful. However,
if they haven't put towels out for you, you're not going to die.
And it's not that you don't really have a right to expect these things. And it's different for everyone. It's like, I think the first couple times that you stayed here, I probably went out of my way a little bit more with things. Yeah. And then the more comfortable we got with like that kind of situation, I'm sort of like, Ashley knows her way around now, but I always make sure that the bed linens are washed and made. I mean, if I go like visit my family, I have to make my own bed. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
well, family's a totally different beast.
But our house is very informal and we know each other really well. But it's an energy, that is created by the hostess. And so as the guest, it's your job to kind of read that energy and to take. I love this idea of just taking your cues from
if your host shows up fully dressed in the morning, probably not a good idea to come out in your PJs.
It also probably means that, especially if you're staying with someone for an extended period of time, or you being there is not the only thing going on in their life, it probably also means that they have somewhere to be, they have things to do, so you can't expect that you're just going to sit around and gab for 40 minutes over coffee like we're doing here. Well, this was planned. But, that's something that I think happens too, where people just think, I'm just going to chit chat because I'm on vacation. And maybe the people that you're staying with are not.
Right.
And they have to work, or even if they work from home, they need some time to themselves.
And I think a lot of reasons that people don't invite someone, or just generally people, to come and stay with them is because they get stressed out by the extra work. So part of being a good guest is also volunteering, do you need help with the dishes, or
just don't make extra work for your host, because it's
or
very
alleviate
easy.
them from something,
right?
Like, would you like me to take the dogs out? It seems like you're very busy, and I'm on vacation. I can do anything I want.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very easy to either just don't make extra work, or if it is inevitable, because there's always extra laundry and extra dishes and things like that, but offering where to help out, or just picking up after yourself. I mean, that's the simplest thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Just pick up after yourself.
Absolutely. And certainly if people have general house rules like no shoes, or the dogs can't get on the furniture, or whatever somebody's house rules are, it doesn't matter how ridiculous you think they are.
Right.
You must abide by them. That's kind of the contract of coming to stay with someone. I didn't have this personal experience, but I heard about it, that someone I knew went to their best friend's house and they brought their 2 dogs. And when
Without asking?
No, they knew.
Okay.
But when they arrived, it was made known to them that the dogs were not welcome on the sofa, that the dogs were not welcome in the bed in the guest room.
Okay.
And that that in fact in the formal living room, the dogs were not allowed.
Yes.
And this person basically completely ignored those rules, and it actually seriously damaged the relationship between the two friends because
It's a lack of respect.
it's a lack of respect. Someone else's home is their sanctuary. This is the place that they go when they're not at work. It's where they spend a huge proportion of their time, and
Right.
however which way they want to choose to live in that home, that's part of the respect that you give them as being their guest.
It's definitely a time to completely release judgment about what you think is right or wrong, or how you think things should be done. Because you're right, people deserve to be able to be however they want to be in their home.
Absolutely.
It is their sanctuary.
Yeah.
And so you're stepping into that. And honestly, it's funny. It's like one of the reasons why my husband doesn't even really like to stay with people, because he knows that he wants to respect that, and he just would rather not deal with it. So he'd rather stay at a hotel where there isn't any concern about that. And then you only getting to experience those people when you want to. But I think that's also maybe a guy thing a little bit too.
Yeah.
That's his personality. Yeah. Sometimes as women, because our home is our sanctuary and we're so kind of community driven and based, we actually enjoy inviting people into it.
Yeah.
So, maybe that's a guy girl thing too.
It might be.
Yeah.
I had another experience where I was actually with the guy I was dating. I took him to my family's home for a weekend away.
That's always a terrifying new experience, isn't it?
It is. And I can appreciate how scary that is. I've been on the other side of it. But in this case, he hid in our room from my family. And they were incredibly affronted by this.
What do you mean he hid? I
He
mean,
literally spent...
not like under the bed. I mean, but he...
No, but he spent a huge proportion of the time when we were all spending time together.
Oh, yeah, that's
in our bedroom.
awkward.
Yeah, it was very awkward. It was awkward for me. It was awkward for them. And then he just showed up for meals. Yeah. And they were very offended. And this happened to be in France as well. So it was my French family who are, they have different customs and whatnot, but they were excited to invite us to their home and to get to know him. And they kept on saying, like, is there something wrong? Right. Is there something wrong with you? Or are you two fighting? Or is it us? Or have we done anything? It was just a constant stress for them all day long. And so God, were they happy when we broke up.
So that's something to consider as a guest too. I mean, being around too much is maybe not going to be the best thing, and then not being around enough isn't going to send
especially
the best
if you're there for a
message.
Holiday or a period of time when you're going to be doing a lot of interacting.
Yeah, I like to find out what the itinerary is. So if I'm staying with someone, I like to know in advance, okay, well, what's on the plan for while I'm here? And
like when I come and visit you, we know that we're going to have dinner together
on
least
a certain night.
Yeah.
We know that we're getting together with these people on this night. We know, like, yes, there's somewhat of a structure to it. And then that means there's also free time where there's no expectation that you're going to be like, glued to my hip 24/7, which is of course where she wants to be, because who doesn't?
I know, because I love
want to be
so
with
much.
me all the time.
All the time.
You're my Siamese sister of the other hair color.
The other hair color,
but that's really important, is to sort of find out, okay, great, while I'm here, what is it that you like to do? Or people will be asking you, okay, what do you want to do, while you're in town? And so that you have a few things, not that it's like a printed itinerary, although I love my printed itineraries too. You know me.
Yes.
Organization. Right. But that is something that you can do in advance. But like everything, I feel like it all just comes back to communication. And being
absolutely
clear. And isn't that, after all, what relationships in life are all about?
Yes.
Think about that, my friends.
Now, here's something I really want to touch on, because we talked a little bit about bringing a gift when you're a guest for dinner.
Okay.
And
Talk about this. And then I want to do our pet peeves, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So quickly, do not show up empty-handed.
Oh, I do that all the time, though. I don't think.
If you're going to family.
Yeah. I mostly stay with family.
Yeah. If you're going to family, show up empty-handed.
Okay.
Bring your laundry.
Okay. So,
but if you are going to a friend's house, or if you are like to stay,
yeah,
or if you are, for example, I like to bring a gift when I'm going to my partner's family's house.
That definitely, absolutely,
points galore.
Oh my God.
I know that I'm only, not that I'm only welcome because I'm with him, but because we are together, I am not family.
Yeah.
And I like to bring something.
It's a very gracious thing to do. It's very nice. It makes you feel good, and total points for that. Big time.
So you can do it a couple of ways. If I'm traveling a long distance, I like to order something on Amazon and make sure that it arrives the day of or maybe the day after I've arrived. And it comes, they do free wrapping. It shows up. You don't have to carry it. There's everything in the world on Amazon.
That's what I was just going to say. It can be anything.
And you can always ask your partner, do a little Facebook investigation of them to see what they're into.
Right.
And get something that is...
Well, what would be, like, if we could come up with a couple ideas really quickly?
Yeah.
Like, so one, I know, and this was particular to my future in-laws, was a really fancy, gorgeous picture frame. Mm-hmm. That was something that they will definitely use in their house.
Did you put a picture of you in it?
Of course I did.
Good. It wouldn't have been gorgeous without her in it.
Brian was in the picture too. It was a picture of both of us. So yes. But picture frames. If you know the person's style, and like kind of has to be like a nice one too.
Also, if you're going to someone's home who has children and it's the holidays, a holiday children's book is great. Because, for example, in my family, then Christmas Eve, we read like 4 different Christmas books that I was given when I was a kid, and that my mother was given when she was a child. And I have kind of given this ritual along with the book to several people that I visited at holidays who had children, and actually wrote in the book, something about having read this book.
It's very meaningful.
It's meaningful, and you're giving an experience. Something for people to remember. And every time Christmas comes around, they get that, and it's very easy to carry a book. And it's something for the family.
I really like that. Along those same lines, I'm going to add one other idea before we sign off. And that reminded me, and we've done this for a friend whose vacation house we stayed at. We took her a board game.
Yes.
Because that's always a fun thing that you can then participate in together during your stay as well. Yeah. And it's something that a lot of times people aren't necessarily going to go out and get. Games, but they're always nice to have around.
Available.
So that's another one of my favorite options. Yeah. So what I would like you to do now is add your comments in the video below and tell us about your experiences being a guest or hosting house guests, and any other tips that you have, suggestions you'd like to make, things that you'd like to complain about that maybe need further discussion on this. You keep looking at my hair. Is something going on?
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Do you know that whenever someone keeps looking, right? They're like,
Okay, now you
and then they keep looking, and then you're like, what's on my face? What is on my face?
You have some spinach. No, you don't. You're fine. You're fine.
And so add your comments below, and get in touch with us, and
get out there and be a guest and be a host. And hosting and being a guest is one of the greatest parts of being in relationship with people, is that you get to have these wonderful experiential things. And you know what? It's never going to be perfect. You're never going to be the perfect guest. You're never going to be the perfect host.
But it's important to do. It really can enhance your relationships, and it's kind of, what the premise of this show is about, is creating those meaningful connections with people. You're really going to do that and deepen that by being a host and being a guest. And by subscribing to Coffee and Cupcakes so that you get more of these episodes coming to you every week. We love having you here. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.